Hello everyone. In this video we're going to show you how to make a duct tape cast for a custom knee brace. We recommend you watch the whole video through once before you begin. Before you start, you'll need to assemble a few things. Permanent markers, ideally in a few colors, a ruler, plastic wrap, a pair of sharp scissors, several elastic bands large enough to go around your leg, a helper to do the taping, and some duct tape. That's it. Once you have your materials, cover the area of the leg you'll be taping in plastic wrap. Aim to cover about 16 centimeters above the top of the kneecap, down to 16 centimeters below the bottom of the kneecap. If the plastic wrap won't stay up on its own, try supporting it with an elastic band. Now it's time to think about taping. You should only need to tape one leg. Naturally, if you need a brace for a specific leg, tape that one. Otherwise, tape your dominant leg. Remember to label your cast either left or right when marking later. If you are the one being taped, stand the way you normally do, with your weight evenly distributed, and don't move around more than you have to. Don't lock your knees, unless that is your normal posture, and try not to bend your knee sharply or move it in any way that distorts the duct tape, as that will throw off the pattern. When taping, I like to start at the top of the cast area and apply strips of tape as I work my way down, but you can do it in any order if you like. When I'm cutting length of duct tape, I just tear a piece off with my hands. You can use scissors if you prefer, but I find the blades have to be very sharp and they tend to gum up quickly. Do whichever you find easiest. Tear off a piece of duct tape roughly just a bit longer than the circumference of the leg, center it in your hands, and apply the center of the strip to the front of the leg. Start wrapping the duct tape around the leg, allowing the tape to follow the curve of the leg as you go around. Use shorter lengths of tape on curvier areas of leg. If your tape is long enough to overlap, do one side before the other so the ends don't bunch up in the back. You want the tape to be fairly smooth, not scrunched up and bulky. Don't worry about leaving little gaps here and there. You will fill in any missing bits later as you go along. Don't pull the tape so tightly it changes the shape of the soft tissues. That will throw off the pattern, and the finished brace will be too small. On the other hand, don't tape so loosely that there is any space between the tape and the leg, or the finished brace will be too big. Try not to use more than 2 or at most 3 layers of duct tape anywhere, or the finished cast might get too stiff to flatten accurately for a pattern. By now you have noticed that duct tape is quite sticky, so you probably don't want to apply any of it to bare skin. That's what the plastic wrap is for, skin protection. If the cast tries to slide down while you are taping, consider temporarily taping it to the leg with some clear tape or even a small piece of duct tape if it won't irritate the skin. It's critical that the half-finished cast doesn't travel down on your leg or shift around, especially once you start marking. As you get to the end of taping, double-check that you've covered high enough and low enough on the leg. You should have gone almost to the edge of the plastic wrap, within 1 to 2 centimeters. But the plastic wrap may have slipped up or down as you went along. If it has, apply a patching piece of plastic wrap where needed and carefully duct tape over it, trying not to make anything too bulky. Before you declare your taping done, give it a look from all angles and make sure you haven't left any gaps. Apply little patch pieces of duct tape as you need. Everything must be covered with at least 1 layer of duct tape. This is your last chance to check and see if the cast has shifted or slipped around on the knee. If the cast you've made isn't accurately detailing the shape of the knee area, for whatever reason, you can remove this one and start fresh. The second time will be much easier. Now that you have finished taping the cast, it's time for the important bit, marking the pattern lines. The easiest way to draw the center front line is to hold your ruler vertically and use it as a guide. Make sure your subject is standing normally and that your line is a perpendicular 90 degrees to the floor. Write CF clearly on both sides of this line. Draw arrows pointing up on both sides of the line as well, as once the pattern is cut off, it won't be obvious which way is up. Now, carefully trace the outline of the kneecap. It is very important to get the size and placement as accurate as possible. Take your time and ensure the duct tape hasn't slipped down while you're doing this. Now draw a center back line as close to the middle of the back of the leg as you can, and label it CB on both sides of the line. Now it's time for the inner and outer lines. Draw a line down the inside and outside of the knee, keeping the ruler perpendicular to the floor and trying to evenly divide your leg front to back. Many legs won't divide evenly all the way up and down though. If that's the case for you, try to bisect your body front to back at kneecap level keeping the ruler 90 degrees to the ground, and just do the best you can. Label these lines inner and outer. While your tapee is standing as normally as possible, slide 4 elastic bands onto the ankle and shift them up the leg into the following positions: the topmost edge of the brace, just above the kneecap, just below the kneecap, and the bottommost edge of the brace. Try to position these bands as level to the ground as possible, but it's okay if they aren't perfectly horizontal. The exact length of your knee brace is up to you, but we suggest defaulting to about 12 centimeters above and below your kneecap, if you don't have a personal preference. That means that the distance between the 2 top elastics is around 12 centimeters, and so is the distance between the bottom 2 elastics. This is why we said make the plastic wrap about 16 centimeters above and below the patella, so now you have plenty of duct tape canvas to draw on. Refer to the photo in the written tutorial if this seems unclear. Don't hesitate to make it shorter or longer if you think it will help. The elastic bands are there to make it easy for you to draw around the leg with a permanent marker. You are basically drawing on where the upper and lower lacing bands will be on your knee brace. Optionally, cross-hatch above the top line and below the bottom line to remind yourself which bits of duct tape you'll be cutting off later. Trace around the area at the back of your knee where the duct tape bunches up the most when you slightly bend your knee. This area will become the cutout window behind your knee in the finished brace. Now that all your marking is done, but before you go for the scissors to cut the cast off, it's time to take some photos for reference later. Kitty may need them, so take at least one from each side. Before you start snipping away, please remember that scissors are sharp. You want to cut the duct tape, not the person. Whenever possible, keep something, like your fingers, between the tips of the scissor blades and the skin of the person being taped, or use scissors with well-rounded tips. As you can see in the video, I tried using some safety scissors, but the tips of the blades were too tall, so they couldn't fit. To cut off the cast, follow one of the 4 vertical lines you drew. We recommend cutting along the outer line. Start at the top or bottom, whichever is easiest, and switch between them whenever it makes things better. Go as slowly and carefully as you need. Try to avoid pulling on or distorting the duct tape as you cut. Now that you have the duct tape cast removed, it's time to cut off the excess above the top line and below the bottom line. This will leave only the portion that will become the actual knee brace pattern. Handle the finished cast gently to prevent it from changing shape or stretching. Roll it up loosely for mailing instead of folding it flat. So, there you have it, one duct tape knee brace cast. If you have any questions, just contact us via our website at felixandkitty.com. Cheers!